Thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it today. Today I want to talk to you about winning your claim without a nexus. I know it seems kind of impossible because we hear so often that the importance of having a nexus is so important to the success of your claim that it seems counterintuitive to even have a discussion about trying to win your claim without it. But there are several ways in which this can happen, in which the VA actually does allow claims to be won without a nexus. So with that, please hit the thumbs up for me, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff, because guess what? There's 70% of us out there that have no clue what VA compensation and different benefits are available to them, or even how to access them, or if they even qualify. So you hitting the thumbs up helps put this information into the hands of somebody else. So let's jump into it. Before I dive into the winning your claim without a nexus, let's first talk about what's typically the route that's needed and why we do talk about having a nexus for a successful claim. So there's usually, or the way that I always talk about it, there's kind of three main pillars that you're looking at. Pillar 2, I've kind of changed it over time, kind of has an A and B part. So, but of these three pillars, you need those three things in order to have a successful claim with the VA. Now, there's obviously little nuancy things off of each one of these, but to try to condense it all into a 7-minute video or 8-minute video, it gets pretty hard. So with that, the three things are: one, you have to have time in the military, right? So ideally, it's active duty time. That gives you a window, is what I call it, of opportunity. 2 is you have to have a diagnosed condition, right? We're really good at self-diagnosing. That doesn't mean anything. You actually have to go to a doctor and have them diagnose you with X. Now you have your diagnosis, so that's part A. Part B of that is that your condition must be chronic in nature or have residual effects. So an example I like to give here would be, if you broke your arm in service, and that was a clean break, and they put a cast on you, and whatever, 8 weeks later, you're 100% good to go, no issues, you have zero problems with your arm, you're not going to file a claim for that because you are 100% fixed, 100% good, back to perfect. Now, on the other hand, let's say that your break was further back towards your elbow, and for some reason, when it healed and you took off the cast, you couldn't extend your arm all the way. Now you have a range of motion issue. You have a residual effect. You're going to be filing a claim for that. So now we have, so far, 1, active duty time gives us our window of opportunity. 2, we have a diagnosed condition. 2B, we have that it is a chronic condition or it has residual effects. The third thing that we talk about is that nexus. We have to show the VA that, hey, this condition was either caused by, manifested during, somehow, some way, this condition I have showed up during my time in service. So A, either an in-service event caused a problem, or it just simply appeared. The example I like to give here in this simply appeared piece would be, you could come from a family of migraine sufferers. Everybody in your family has them. Everybody started getting them at age 20. You joined the military at 18. You turn 20. You start getting migraines. Well, guess what? You didn't have them before. Now you have them. That would be a claimable condition if it's chronic, right? So you have a chronic problem with migraines, right? You get them, whatever, a couple times a week. So now that is a condition that just kind of manifested during your time in service. But what the VA wants to see is prove to me that your condition started as a result of, or whatever, your service, okay? The problem is people get out of service, they never got seen while they were in, then they get out, and then years go by, and then they go get diagnosed, and then they're trying to file a claim, but they don't get it approved because they don't have a nexus. They can't prove that it started. So an example here is I had migraine headaches when I was in, got hands full of Motrin from the corpsman or medic or whoever, gives you Motrin, boom, you pop them. That stuff's just over the counter. They're not documenting that, Joe Snuffy's is taking Motrin. They just give it to you. Then when you're back home, you're going to the grocery store or wherever, and you're picking up little bottles of Motrin or aspirin, and you're just taking those, and you're moving on throughout your day, and you're doing your job. And then you get out, and you move on in life, and you keep going. And then one day, 5 years later, you see a commercial about migraine headaches, and so you finally go to the doctor. You go to the doctor, and you get actually diagnosed with migraines, and they prescribe you X or Y or whatever, and you try a few different things. Then you talk to a buddy, and the buddy says, hey, you have migraines? Yeah. Have you been getting them since service? Yeah. You should file a claim. Cool. So then you're getting all excited about it, and you get your documentation from your doctor that you do have migraines, and you're diagnosed for them, and you're prescribed X for it. And you get your DD-214, and you dust it off, and you put those things together, and you send it into the VA, and the VA says, well, prove to me that they started during your time in service. And you said, well, I said they did. Well, prove that they did. Well, I told you they did. Well, show me something in your file. Well, there's nothing written in my file. So you'll run up against that as a problem in that scenario. Now, with regard to, and I know it took a long time to get here, I get it, but it's really important to explain how all of this kind of works and why what I'm going to tell you now is so important, okay? Presumptive conditions do not require a nexus tying the condition to your time in service. The VA is basing presumptive conditions off of where you served. So if you served Gulf War, Afghanistan, whatever, or you were Vietnam, whatever, and there's all these different countries around there now too, right? So that's not what this video is about. This video is about not needing a nexus. So there's a whole list of conditions, not just cancers, but there's a whole big long list of cancers for all these different presumptive conditions, whether it's Camp Lejeune water, Vietnam, Agent Orange exposure, burn pit exposure, a big long list of cancers. There's also other conditions that are listed that are not cancers, like diabetes or ischemic heart disease for Vietnam, sinusitis, rhinitis, and there's a whole other, there's a long list. It keeps going. This is not an all exhaustive, list on what the conditions are. This is just not needing a nexus. So you do not need to prove that your condition started during your time in service. This is huge, very important, because when you get out of service and then years go by and then you start to develop these things, then you can look back and go, hey, is that on the presumptive list? And if it is, then you file a claim. The difference is you don't need to prove that your condition manifested during your time in service, because the VA has already conceded, and they're saying, hey, look, if you served in this area in between this time frame, then and you have this condition, we just presume that you got that from there, and we're not going to dig any further or ask any questions. We're just automatically going to give it to you. So very, very, very important, because these are easy claims to win because the VA has already conceded to it. So as long as you served in an area they identified within a certain period of time, and you have a condition that's listed as a presumptive for that area of service, then you're in. Now, the next video I'm going to do after this is going to be, well, now you got service connected for it, or you're going to get service connected for it, but where's your rating going to fall? This is where you have to do your homework. But I'm going to cut this one here. So I'm going to do the next one right after this and throw it up at noon. So thanks again. I appreciate each and every one of you. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.